morning, Endeavour. The naval officers down here on console. There you go. The naval officers down here on console would like to wish the maritime members of the crew smooth sailing for Endeavour for the rest of the day as you maneuver in proximity to PAMS 2.
And Mark and Andy, we're with you in Space Hab. Good morning.
Space Hab Park, Endeavour. Good morning.
Good morning, Andy. Space Hab Park with you.
Good morning, Lynn. You're burning the midnight oil, I guess. I'm ready to give you the status brief anytime you're ready to copy.
I'm ready anytime, Andy.
Houston, Endeavour, the Stu satellite is on its way.
We copy. Sounds great.
And Houston, Endeavour, it looks like it has a bit of a tip-off rate after it left the field of view. I'll pan the camera up so you can see it. And you'll see the Stu exit towards the left side of the screen here. And this view looks pretty stable. As I mentioned, Grunsfeld owes me a big one for this.
We'll pass that on.
Mario, we got a nice stable picture with no line. Endeavour Houston, that's a super zoomed in image now. That's really helping us out. Thank you.
We're going to give you another view that we took from the flight deck here.
Copy. We're getting that other view now, and we have about another 30 seconds or so of Mila.
This is Mission Control Houston. This television is live from Endeavour, looking at the attitude measurement system for PAMS 2 in the cargo bay. Again, pointed toward the PAMS 2 satellite as Endeavour crosses over the Midwest United States.
Houston, if you still have downlink, the downlink you're getting now is from the Hab, and it is live.
Thanks, that's great.
This is Mission Control Houston. This television is a live shot of the PAMS 2 satellite. This view taken by camera pointed out the window of the Space Hab module. PAMS-2 satellite about 2,200 feet from Endeavour.
And Endeavour Houston, we're ready for your downlink at this time.
Okay.
This is John Manley in Montreal. Do we have you, Endeavour?
Sure do, Mr. Manley. This is John Casper, commander of the spaceship Endeavour. We're talking to you from about 150 miles in space, and we're currently flying over the Pacific Ocean headed for Hawaii. If I could just give you a little recap of what we've done the last few days. Let me introduce the crew that's with me. We have 4 of the 6 crew members. Of course, you know Mark Garneau to my right, and in the back, Andy Thomas and Dan Bursch. And we've had a very productive and busy 4 days in our space flight to date. The last Monday, we deployed the inflatable antenna experiment, and that went very well. And then yesterday we rendezvoused, and Mark did just an absolutely superb job grappling and putting inside the payload bay that Spartan antenna, that Spartan satellite rather. And we were just amazed at how easy he made that look with the Canadian arm. We had another busy day today with our small test satellite that deploy and rendezvous with that went very well. And we're looking forward to another about 6 days of productive effort here on this science, technology, and microgravity science and technology demonstration flight.
Mark, perhaps you could pick up on some of the comments that the commander made and tell us a bit about the Canadian scientific experiments that you're carrying with you and how you expect to see these carried out in the next few days.
Well, Mr. Manley, in fact, I'm spending a good part of my time on an experiment which is a joint Canadian, U.S., and German experiment. It's Canadian-led. It's called the Commercial Float Zone Furnace. And basically it involves processing some semiconductor materials, heating them up in a furnace, and then melting them. And in this particular case, we have the advantage of doing what we call containerless processing. In other words, the heating up and the melting, the material itself does not make contact with the container. Also, because we're in microgravity, we don't have the usual convective effects that are due to gravity. So we have the opportunity of melting and then reforming a material with a better crystal structure and with greater purity. And that furnace has been working pretty well since the beginning of the flight, and will continue to do so until the end of the flight. And there are scientists in Canada from Ottawa and from Halifax who have samples on board that we are processing, and hopefully we will be able to come back with some materials that have a crystal structure that is better than anything that has ever been produced. I'm also doing an experiment called the Aquatic Research Facility. In fact, it's right beside me by my right knee, and it contains, again, a Canadian experiment in this case. It contains sea urchins, which are part of an American contribution, as well as star shells and blue clams. And what we're doing here is looking at what effect the absence of gravity has on the development, the very early embryonic development of these marine aquatic species. What we're trying to do is to understand whether gravity plays a major role in the formation of these species, which, as you know, are primarily, their outer shells are primarily formed of minerals. And what we learn here could have possible implications in terms of telling us more about what is important in bone formation and indirectly possibly help us know more about things like osteoporosis, which affect older people. So those are 2 of the main experiments from Canada, and there are also 2 other experiments in the cargo bay. in getaway special canisters that both have to do with processing materials, semiconductor materials, and thin organic films. And they are from the University of Toronto and from the University of Moncton. So Canada is well represented on this flight.
Mark, let me say to you and to your colleagues, there are at least several million Canadians who are watching you and who are longing to have the experience that you're having. One of them happens to be the Minister of Industry, but I know there are lots of others as well. What would you say? You've been up twice. Would you like to go again?
Well, I have to say that there's no other job that I would prefer to do than the one that I'm doing right now. I also am very conscious of the fact that I'm a very fortunate person. I know a lot of people who would like to go into space, and possibly sometime in the future it will be commonplace. And unfortunately, at this time, it's still the early days of the space program, but it's a far cry from what it was 25 or 30 years ago when I was a teenager. So things have changed dramatically, and I'm sure they will change in the future. And for those who do want to become astronauts, that possibility does exist. It requires a lot of hard work and determination and a lot of focus, but it is something that is accessible.
Well, let me say to you, in fact, to all of you, on behalf of the Government of Canada, how enormously proud that we are sharing in this great international experiment. That Mark, you're there as our representative, as Canadians. We envy you, but we also admire you, and you are a source of great pride to us. We wish you a very successful voyage, a safe return to Earth. And I know the Prime Minister had hoped, Mark, that he could do this particular uplink with you, and we weren't able to coordinate it with his schedule in Western Canada. But I extend to you and to your fellow crew members the Prime Minister's greetings and best wishes, and we're looking forward to seeing you on your return.
Thank you very much, Minister Manley. On behalf of all of us, it was a pleasure talking to you and to Canadians.
Safe voyage.
Endeavour Houston, as usual, another superb job by the Endeavour crew. We certainly enjoyed that, and we're just very pleased to hear from Minister Manley and the best wishes from Canada.
Thank you, Bill. And Bill, you should have a change of image here.
Listen, words just escape me when I see a picture like this one.
Usually from this point of view, we'd like to be looking in through this window, but that's not to be at the moment, so we'll just take a look out as the sun comes up. On the Space Shuttle Endeavour, we'll close out this busy workday and say good evening.